Nikola Tesla walked 10 miles every day, not to stay fit, not to clear his schedule. He walked because something in him knew that the mind, left sitting still in a room, begins to calcify. And yet, the world called him eccentric, strange, impractical. Here was one of history's most generative thinkers, and his greatest tool was his feet on the ground. The Bhagavad Gita speaks of something called sattva, a quality of clarity, lightness, and luminous awareness. Krishna tells Arjuna that when sattva rises in a person, a kind of inner light begins to shine through all the gates of the body. Not a metaphor for intelligence exactly, something older than that. A quality of being that allows perception to become clean, undistorted. The ancient teaching suggests that sattva is not given to us. It is cultivated through what we eat, how we rest, and crucially, how we move through the world. Tesla lived in an age of noise. The late 19th and early 20th centuries were crackling with ambition. Laboratories, patents, rivalries, the electric hum of a civilization rewriting itself. He was surrounded by men who measured genius by how many hours they sat at a desk. Edison famously slept very little and wore sleeplessness like a badge. Tesla walked. He would move through the streets, sometimes alone, sometimes muttering, sometimes completely silent. And in that walking, something would arrive. Not forced, not extracted through effort. It would simply appear. A solution, a configuration, a clarity that the cluttered room had refused to offer. There is a word in Sanskrit, viveka, discernment, the capacity to see what is real beneath what is merely loud. Tesla may never have read the Gita, but he lived one of its deepest truths, that the mind, like a river, runs clearest when it is moving. A still pond collects sediment. A flowing river stays clear. The first lesson is this: motion is not the opposite of thought. We have inherited a strange idea that serious thinking happens at a desk, in stillness, under pressure. But the body and the mind are not separate instruments. They are one system. When the body moves rhythmically, without urgency, the mind releases its grip. And in that release, insight finds a way in. The Stoics understood this too. Many of the great Stoic teachers walked while they taught. The school of the Stoics was literally named for a stoa, a covered walkway. Philosophy happened in motion. The second lesson is subtler. Tesla's walks were not productive in the conventional sense. He was not optimizing. He was not networking. He was, by every external measure, doing nothing useful. And that is precisely what made them essential. The ancient teaching reminds us that the fruit of action does not always come from the action we can see. Sometimes the most generative thing we can do is step away from the work entirely and trust that the seed we planted will grow in the dark. Here is the practice, not a grand overhaul, just one small shift. Tomorrow, when you feel stuck on a decision or problem, a feeling you cannot name, do not reach for your phone. Do not open another tab. Instead, walk. Outside if you can, without a destination, without a podcast in your ears. Just 10 minutes. Let your feet find a rhythm and let your mind wander without agenda. You are not wasting time. You are doing what Tesla did, what the Stoics did, what the ancient teaching points toward, creating the inner conditions for clarity to arise on its own. The river does not force its way to the sea. It simply keeps moving, and the path reveals itself. There is something quietly radical about a genius who chose to walk when the world told him to work harder. Tesla did not produce his insights despite his walks. He produced them because of them. The Gita does not promise us that clarity will come when we demand it. It promises something better, that when we cultivate the right inner conditions, when we let sattva rise, the light comes on its own. You do not have to be a genius to walk 10 miles. You just have to be willing to step outside. Let the rhythm of your feet quiet the noise and trust that the answer you've been forcing is already on its way. Subscribe to LifeVeda for daily wisdom that transforms your life.